In this video, we're going to be talking about text and concatenate formulas. They're two of my favorite formulas, and I'm going to show you how to use it to their fullest potential. Let's get started. Now I had to change up the data for this example, and I made actually just dummy data for financial line items, net sales, gross profit, net profit, current assets, and current liabilities, and then took those values and then made the ratios from these values over here. So I got the gross profit and net profit margins, current ratio, and then the working capital left in the company after subtracting assets and liabilities. So let's get started into the text formula. What does this do? And then we're going to kind of write a narrative using the concatenate and the ampersand sign to include these data points. And I'll show you a really cool way to use the text and the concatenate formulas in your job. So if you start by typing text, you'll see that it says it converts a value to text in a specific number format. So what that's talking about is that, hey, any piece of data here, you can see it's formatted. I told Excel that I want commas in it. I don't want to see decimals. I also don't want to see a dollar sign. And up here in the date, I said that, hey, I want 2 digits for the month, day, and the year. So let me hop into that Format Cells dialog box by holding Control and 1, and Format Cells pops up, and I'm selected right here on this date. And so date pops up in the number area and the number formatting, and it's saying what type of date format do I want. And it's showing 0/14/12, and my sample up here is 12/31/16, which is shown on the page. Now, what if I wanted to switch that up and make it something else? You could say March 14th of 12 and changes to December 31st of 16. How is Excel how is it programmed behind the scenes to say, display it in this type of a fashion? Because that's what the text formula is looking for. And what I mean by that is, instead of looking at date, I'm going to go down here to custom, okay? And actually, I'm going to go back up because that's really confusing right there. I'm going to switch it back to the 12/31/16. Now go down to custom. You can see it's selected right here just to start right now. So it's saying month / day / year. Now this is the format Excel looks at to say, how do I want to display this text? It's saying, well, what if I have another M there? Because this is the custom field, so I can type in it. So if I put another M, this 12 turned to December, or DEC. And if I put another M, it's the whole word December. This coding right here is actually behind the scenes telling Excel, how do I want to display the year or the date? Or the year could be another Y to make it 2016. Let's go ahead and format this in a way that we would like to see it. So I don't want really a slash there. I want a comma and a space. I want to get rid of that slash and put a space in front of that. So I want an entire month, day, comma, year, semicolon, and the @ sign. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to cancel it though, so it doesn't update over here, just so I can show you. And let's start typing the text formula. Equals text, and value is this date. And put a comma, and the format of the text, how I want to format this text, this is what I just copied in that dialog box, and it has to be within double quotes. So I'm going to put open quotes, paste it in, close the quotes, and then close the parentheses. And you can see that it's now reading this, it's referencing this cell, pulling it over here, and telling it how to format it or display it. Okay. Same thing can be done with numbers. Let's get rid of that. Let's do an example of like 50 million. So Control and 1, open up the Format Cells dialog box. And right now, let's see, I think it says a number. And if we go back down to custom, you can see this is how it's displaying. It's a # or hashtag, comma, #, 0, underscore, and then a parentheses. So the parentheses is actually telling it for negatives, what to do on negatives. Notice that there's no decimals. Had there been a decimal here, let's put in a decimal, 0.00, you can see that this just updated to 0.00. If we put a dollar sign in front of this, dollar sign appears here. If we put a space, there's a space. So this is how you can customize the format within the text formula. So equals text, this value, comma, remember always put the format text in quote. So that was a pound sign, comma, pound, pound, 0, end quotes, and then end the parentheses. So this is telling it how to handle a positive number, and I said put in a comma, and that's it. I basically just told it put in a comma, do not include decimals, and do not include a dollar sign. Okay. All right, so now that we've learned that, the next thing we need to learn is the concatenate formula. And so I'm just going to start typing it here. Concatenate, it says that it joins several text strings into one text string. So that means that I'm going to take this text string, text 1, comma, another text string, and then close it up and see what happens. It says that net sales, and then it says gross profit, and it's all squished together. But at least it's combining both of those pieces of text strings into one large cell. So I can actually put a space in between here. So I can put another comma, and I have 1, 2, and 3 text strings that I want to combine into one. Let me hit enter. And you can see that there's no space in here. And the reason is that Excel thinks that I should be referencing something, just like I did with B8 and B9. It's waiting for a reference. And to tell Excel that I'm not referencing any cells, I'm actually talking about manually inputted text. I need to surround my text with double quotes. And so now Excel realizes they want me to put in a space between B8 and B9. I'll hit enter, and now we have our space. So there's another way to do this. Instead of using the concatenate formula, you can actually use the ampersand sign. So if I say equals net sales, and then if I just say equals that, it's going to return net sales. But if I continue on and use an ampersand sign, it's basically like writing the formula concatenate and putting a comma there. So instead of the comma, I'm using the ampersand sign. And I put a double quotes because I'm manually typing a space, and the double quotes. Put another ampersand sign saying, hey, this is my first piece of text, second piece of text. My third piece of text is going to be gross profit. And it returns the exact same value or text string as the concatenate function did. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Kind of write a narrative, a short narrative of how this could be useful in a real life setting. I prefer to use the ampersand sign. I think that the concatenate function is fine, perfectly fine. You can go ahead and use this and put commas in between. It might be helpful to guide you. And actually, let's go ahead and just use the concatenate formula. So the first thing is, let's go ahead and start typing something that would make sense in a real life setting. So for the year ending, space, and the double quotes. So this is my first piece of text. I'm going to put a comma to go to my second piece. Then I'm going to say year ending, and I'm going to grab this guy and just close it up. I want to see what happens. You can't tell what year that is. It's just a date value. We need to tell Excel how to format that date, just like we did in the text formula that we just learned. So let's go ahead and use that text formula and surround it with B5, comma, how do we want to format this? And it was MMMM, so to get the long month, then day, comma, year, and end the double quotes, end the parentheses, and now let's see what it returns. And it says December 31st, 2016, exactly what we wanted. So now let's continue it on and say, all right, well now I want to have a third piece of text. So I'm going to put a comma, and then I'm going to typing this part in manually. So I'm going to put comma again, XYZ, comma, company, had net sales of space, and the double quotes, put a comma, because now I'm going to start referencing something. So what was the net sales? I'm going to grab the 50 million. I hit enter. And again, you can see that because I didn't specify how to format it, Excel just put 5 with a bunch of zeros. That is $50 million, but it's really difficult to read. And obviously you're not going to send out a narrative that looks like that. So let's go ahead and make it useful and surround it with the text function and say I want it to look like the hashtag, comma, hashtag 0, end the quotes, and end the parentheses and see how it looks. So at least now we can read it. It says 50 million. I'm going to put in a dollar sign. there. I think that might look a little better. And let's just type in one more. So comma, open the quotes because I'm typing manually. And let's just say, and gross profit of space and the quotes, then put in a comma because now I'm going to reference my gross profit. Again, if I just hit enter, it's just going to be a 2 with a bunch of zeros. So I have to format it with text, then format that text with $, hashtag, comma, hashtag, hashtag, 0, and the double quotes, and the parentheses. And it looks great. Actually, let's put in a period at the end there. So I'm going to put comma, quote, dot, quote, and now I have 20 million. So you could continue going down the list of saying all of the financial lines, what the values are, and then going over and explaining the ratios and pulling in these ratios as well. That's what's kind of neat, is that now I can, instead of going into the narrative and finding, oh, this is $50 million and I need to double click in here and change the 50 million to, let's say, 75 million next year or next month or however often you do this, and changing all the other data points. Instead, you have them all up here and they're just being referenced. So this could now be, hey, we only had $10,000 in sales. Okay, well, net sales of $10,000 is now updated here in the narrative. We have the gross profit of 200. That doesn't make sense. So 2,000 and gross profit and so forth. And the date as well. You could have 1/31/17. First month in January. January 31st, 2017. Everything is reading and updating accurately. That's the beauty of using the text and the concatenate formulas.